Hey there, it's Terry. I wanted to talk to you today about food tracking. Food tracking to me is like budgeting. So, when you keep a budget and you're trying to follow a budget, sometimes you might not um, be able to stay on it exactly, but if you're tracking your budget and your money, then you know where your money's going and you know where you need to help fix it. So before I became a coach, one of the ways that allowed me to stop working in the school and working outside the home was I tracked my budget. And I did that for about 6 months. So I just wrote down everything I spent and everything, like if we went, grocery shopping, eating out, all of those kinds of things. So that helped me to see where I could save my money and where I could change and fix things so that I could not work outside the home and come work from home as a coach. So that kind of is what started with the food tracking, and that's kind of how I relate it. So an example, if you are tracking your food and you figure out how much you want to eat so many vegetables a day, obviously. You want to eat so many proteins a day. You want to eat so many carbohydrates a day. You want to have so many, healthy fats a day. And, you want to have so many snacks a day. And so if you're not tracking it, it's easy to, feel like you're doing more or you're better than you actually are. For example, I am following a program where I am supposed to eat 5 servings of vegetables a day. Now, as you'll read in this newsletter, I use the container system, so I'm having a green container. I need to have 5 green containers, so that's of the vegetables, right? The green container, I believe, is equivalent to about 1 cup. So before I was actually tracking and knowing like the serving sizes and what foods were in what category, if I ate a meal that had, say, broccoli in it, then if I ate a serving of it, then I would say that was my serving of vegetable. But if I were to pick the broccoli out of it and put it in the cup, then I probably would only have filled up 1/4 of the actual green container that counts as the vegetables. But in my brain, I ate broccoli, so that equaled 1 serving of vegetables. But that's totally not the case because I only had 1/4 of the vegetables. So I didn't really think like this before I started tracking using the colored containers. So it goes back to the same of the yellow container. The yellow container is represents the carbohydrates, okay? So if I know I'm trying to eat 4 yellow containers a day, then, and it's important to know what foods are allowed to be in each representation. So that's part of the game also. Just like when you're regular budgeting, you have to know your money and where and what goes on. So it's just like the food. So it's a game of budgeting. And so sometimes you might go over your budget. But if you're not tracking it, then you can go over like 5 days, 5 days, 5 days, 5 days. But if you're tracking it, then you know, oh my gosh, I went over this many days, so I better reel myself back in. And so that's the kind of little game I play with the budgeting and versus the tracking of the food. It is hard, I believe, to let me how to put this. It's hard to, there's so much information out in the world with like Pinterest and Google, and everybody's doing something different, like on the health and fitness spectrum. They are. And like so many different things work, and they can work, but they don't work when you're pulling like one thing out of the sky from all the different things and trying to make it up to say, this is, I know how to be healthy and I know how to lose weight or whatever your goal is. When you're all over the place like that, it's hard to feel successful because you're not getting you're not following the steps. And I guess I'm starting to think myself in a whole nother topic right here off of the tracking. So I better stop this and start making a different video on that. But it starts with the tracking of the food and knowing what the foods are. I'm not saying to be perfect with the tracking. No one's perfect. There are times when, some people are more on point than others for sure. But the tracking, just like budgeting in your finances, the tracking of the food helps you to see where you are and give some accountability to yourself. So in this newsletter, I've given you some of the ways that I've incorporated tracking, and I've been doing it for 4 years, tracking in this system, and it's really working for me. I really like simple and not complicated, because when it gets too complicated, I just want to throw that out the window. So I like to keep it simple. So these are some of my tactics, and I just wanted you to think of tracking your food like budgeting for your finances. I hope you guys have a good day. Bye.